Look, sir, the movie we're talking about today is not made for kids. So, if you're under 18, please stop here.
Why? Because the heroine of the film is named Laura, and this girl works in a job that's not good at all. Simply put, whoever pays more gets to be with her. And keep in mind, this story is in America, not here or in any Arab country. Our customs and traditions would never allow something like this. The film starts with Laura, a young girl who is 18 years old, beautiful with a childlike face, sitting in a lecture as usual. And suddenly, she had an unnatural stomach pain until she fell to the ground and fainted in front of everyone. They quickly called an ambulance and took her to the hospital. There, the doctor examining her found that Laura hadn't eaten a bite of food for 3 days. She was surprised and asked her, "How come? Why aren't you eating?" Laura calmly replied, "I don't have money to buy food." When Laura returned home, we found her living with her boyfriend, Manu. They agreed to split the house expenses equally. Laura sat down to tell him what happened to her at college and the hospital, expecting him to comfort her or say something nice. But he didn't care at all. He replied to her, "Find another job. I'm not ready to cover the house expenses by myself." Suddenly, the power went out because Laura hadn't paid the electricity bill. Manu got really upset and left her, went to sleep while she stood there alone, and she said to him, "Don't be upset. I'll handle it tomorrow." And because of her circumstances, Laura decided to work alongside her studies. She started looking for a job, but all she found were places that rejected students while she was browsing online. She found job ads for people over 18. Among these ads, there was one from a man named Joe, 50 years old, who wrote that he wanted someone to pamper him. Laura hesitated at first and felt uneasy, but in the end, she decided to accept. The meeting was in a hotel. As soon as Joe met her, he gave her a paper with his requests, like pretending they were playing together and that she undress in front of him. Laura was very terrified, but did everything he asked. In the end, he gave her the money and she left him feeling happy, not because of what she did, but because she finally had money. She went to a restaurant and started eating as if she hadn't seen food in a long time because she was so hungry. Laura liked the idea and started meeting other clients. Once, one of the clients took her in his car to a quiet place and asked her to take off some of her clothes. As soon as she started undressing, he suddenly approached her and treated her very violently without noticing that she was terrified. He finished what he wanted. With complete indifference, he gave her the money and threw her out on the street. Laura felt a heavy humiliation in her heart. She returned home sad and broken and tried to reach out to Manu, seeking a sense of security. But it was as if he didn't hear. All he cared about was asking her about the rent money. Laura exploded and told him, "I'm selling myself to pay you the rent." He replied with complete indifference, "Do whatever you want. What's important is the money." Laura couldn't stand this treatment. She left Manu and went to live with her sister. But there she found another problem. Her nephew's noise prevented her from studying and concentrating. She decided to look for a place to study and chose a nightclub, but the club she entered was full of drunk young men around the table. Hilaria Biria Bovrei. A young man named Benjamin noticed the situation. He quickly stepped in and pretended to be her boyfriend to get them away from her. After things settled down, Benjamin took her home, and there he got a bit closer and showed her a kindness she hadn't felt in a long time. The next day, Laura went to take some inappropriate photos. She received the money but found it very little. She was surprised, and when she asked the photographer, he told her if she wanted more money, there was someone else who could give it to her. Laura refused the offer and walked away from him, feeling sad and broken. After a while, Laura started to feel that what she was doing had become something normal, especially when she saw that other girls were doing the same thing. The idea settled in her mind, and she decided to continue. At that time, her exam results came out, and they were better than previous years. She was very happy and wanted to buy a laptop for her graduation project. Then she remembered Joe and called him, and they agreed to meet again. Laura went to the hotel, and there she found the laptop she had been dreaming of in front of her. But as we say, nothing comes for free. Joe started torturing her in brutal ways.
But with her determination, she managed to free herself and successfully escaped, taking with her the laptop she wanted while she was devastated in her apartment. The door knocked. Laura opened it and found Benjamin standing in front of her with a bouquet of flowers. On the occasion of her birthday, he entered the apartment and tried to be romantic and cheer her up. At that moment, Laura decided to be honest with him and told him everything about what she was doing. She was terrified that he would hate her or leave her, but he hugged her and said he loved her no matter what. After that, Laura's work started to increase, and she began meeting more clients. Once, someone tricked her and gave her 20 euros instead of 200. Laura was very upset and went back to tell Benjamin, who advised her to take the money before starting work. One day, Laura was having dinner with Benjamin at the restaurant. Suddenly, she received a call from a client. Benjamin took the phone, got very upset, yelled at the client, and left the restaurant. When they got home, Laura tried to calm things down and make up, but he honestly told her he couldn't handle this situation. He asked her not to accept any more clients. But Laura couldn't fulfill his request because he himself doesn't work, and she's the one supporting the household and spending on him. Benjamin started to doubt her and decided to watch until he saw her with his own eyes coming out of a hotel with Joe. He waited outside and spoke to her harshly, calling her just a money dog. Laura didn't stay silent. She replied to him and said, "I'm the one supporting you. Without me, you have no value." At that moment, Benjamin exploded and told her that he wasn't proud to have her as his girlfriend and left her. This shock made Laura decide to quit her job. She went to the photographer and asked him to delete her photos, but he refused and told her to pay money. When she refused, he kicked her out and threatened that if she came back, he would report her. Laura felt like the world had closed in on her. She called Joe and told him she was going to leave the country. Joe offered her 5 hours for 1,000 euros. She went to the hotel, but was surprised that he took her to his old friends. She finished what they wanted and returned to her room to find an envelope with only 100 euros. Joe had scammed her and left. Laura cried and tried to call him, but he didn't answer from that moment on. Laura woke up to herself and said she needed to change her life. She started looking for an honest job and indeed found an opportunity in a simple restaurant. The manager there agreed to employ her for a short period that suited her studies, and over time, she proved her competence and was able to establish herself. She graduated with a good grade and bought a small apartment to live in. The years passed, and after 10 full years, Laura became one of the most famous writers in France and was hosted on a major program to tell her difficult story full of lessons and how she managed to rise up and write a good beginning for herself.